Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here with DIVO Talks, where we take ancient wisdom and practices taken through a modern lens and experience to help end the suffering for you and those you love here in the world today. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm liking this tagline because I really do want to end suffering. And one part of the ways that I abate or lessen my suffering is processing life externally. And when I was younger, that got me into all kinds of strange situations, especially as an adult. Now I know some of the things that I shared and told other people really wasn't, it wasn't that it wasn't appropriate. It's that I misunderstood the world in a way that I overshared really strangely, you know, and it makes me wonder too sometimes, like where my soul has not always felt at home here. I've always wanted to be in space, and I've dreamed and imagined other worlds, and like specifically I love fantasy but also science fiction, and I really get into it. So some people label it starseed, some people label it many other things. I think there's a lot to those things, but you know, if it's for you, you'll find it. If what I'm talking about resonates with you, leave a comment or a message and they talk more with you about it. But either way, I didn't quite understand how to be human, and still many times I don't feel like I know how to be human. Like I look human and I'm very habituated as human, but in many ways it feels like a camouflage. I was listening to the Law of One from Ra, who is a channeled being, and I resonate with it because it was brought through more of a scientific person, and so the language was much more understandable and simplified, that I got a lot from. So look it up. It's all available online. I love when information isn't hidden behind pay doors and, you know, things like that. I mean, we all got to live, but some of y'all make a crap ton of money and don't really do anything philanthropic. So I'm just saying, people out there, be good. But anyway, they talk about that our spirit comes into this plane in the camouflage of the local reality. And in that camouflage, we experience life as such. And so we look, feel, and act as a participant in the world, but we're just, our spirits breathe through this camouflage into existence. And then each of those experiences and each of those things that are done while in the camouflage are all distortions, right? Because it's things that make us more identified with the camouflage than it does with the origin of our spirit, the oneness from which we come from, the greater universe and greater unifying principle. Separate but one, right? The pyramid, which I talked about in another episode, you know, it's still the pyramid, but it's made up of blocks, just like we are made up of cells, and each individual cell is its own little conscious thing making choices or using the DNA to make choices for it, but still having some level of awareness to exist as it's supposed to exist. And so the parts don't always understand the whole, and that's fine. Like that is the way it is meant to be. And we can truly make more of ourselves if we are... Sorry, I got distracted because I thought somebody was coming up the stairs, but it was actually the ice maker, and easily confused. See, it's me being a human over here and that being an ice maker and not knowing what's going on because I got noise going on everywhere. Anyway, so the more I am identified with the camouflage, the more distorted I am about the reality of the piece of consciousness, the piece of the universe, the piece of God that I am. And there are all kinds of things that you can believe in. I'm not going to discredit it. I'm talking from what I understand from Ayurveda, from yoga, and from my life experience. I have lived a lot of life, and I have come to these understandings without struggle, without fighting for them. I don't have to fight for it. I don't need you to understand it the way I do, but I'm going to tell you what I believe, and I will even have a good and strong discussion with you about it. But if you believe in Christianity, that's great. If you believe in Judaism, that's fine. If you are of Islam, I guess I should say of. If you are of Christianity, beautiful. If you are of Judaism, beautiful. If you are of Islam, beautiful. If you are of Wiccan or pagan or anything, it is welcome here. You know, I don't necessarily have a label for my belief system outside of I will continue to look. I am a looker. I am a seeker. I am committed to seeing how things work. One of my skills is that I just can look at things and understand how they're supposed to be by looking at them. It is challenging for me to look up, as I talked about, as more unified that the pyramid becomes, the more challenging it is to understand, yourself within the whole. Or when you're down more separated and divided, it's even harder. But especially if I'm at the bottom, it's hard for me to know up at the top what that unified existence is. But I work to be a clear vessel, a clear transmitter. And that's all that Ayurveda and yoga would ask of you, is be a clear projector of yourself and a clear receiver of life and experiences by practicing yoga and things that help keep you clean, clear, and coherent. But it's hard. It is challenging. It is easy to get more and more distorted in your understanding of who and what you are. In fact, we have this particular quirk because we have to preserve ourselves. We have to seek for survival. And that is the camouflage that we are wearing in this plane of duality, in this plane of, existence, where if you don't care properly for the being, like, it will degrade, it will break down. And so pain pushes us towards solutions. Challenge pushes us towards solutions, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. All of these things start pushing us and driving us to fix it, driving us to make it different. And that drive is what keeps you alive. And part of that drive is ego, the ahankara in Ayurveda, as we call it, or yoga, or samkhya. But the ahankara is the I maker. It's that thing that makes us who we are. Now, if we lived and understood ourselves as our community, then we would live as one with that community. That's not quite the human nature as of now. I don't know in the future what's possible, and I don't know really in the past what truly happened. I mean, there are histories, but who knows how valid they are, or what was lost and what was retained, or what's still hidden that may shed light on things. I think the greatest human folly is thinking that we now are the pinnacle, rather than wondering what the pinnacle could be. So anyway, don't worry yourself over things that aren't your concern. The whole is not your concern. Your part of the whole is your concern. What's going on way up at the top isn't your concern. Climbing to the top isn't necessarily a great thing, but it's also not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if it depletes you to do that climb to the top, then it probably isn't for you. Many of the beat-ups that I've had lately have been the settle down, don't get ahead of yourself, is the essence of the message. And I hate that because I don't want to be told that. But that's just where things are at. And so it's not about giving that up. It's about acknowledging and knowing where I'm at in the process. And so bearing that in mind, my message to you is stay the course, have fun while doing it, and beyond all else, be well and be free.